Andres from Doble A Sports. The 49ers on Sunday in week 2 lost 23-17 to Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Yikers. Here are the team's performance grades that I will give for their first loss of the season. Quarterback, B-. Brock Purdy, he got sacked 6 times in this game, threw an interception and had a fumble, which also resulted in a turnover. Many critics and doubters will quickly look at this and say, told you, you see, he's a fraud. That's why he's at the bottom of my quarterback mountain or whatever, It's not good enough. 49ers should trade him away, look for a new quarterback. And look, while he had a fumble and an interception, which isn't ideal by any means, and why I can't give him an A grade, he still threw for 319 yards and a touchdown, with a passer rating of 101. Yes, he threw for over 319 yards, and we are still saying he had an awful game. If this is a bad game, it will be interesting. It will be very, very interesting to see what a good game looks like if this is fraudulent, according to his critics and doubters. Obviously, a big question will be how much will Purdy be paid next year, and will this performance impact that? In my opinion, we don't know yet. There are still a lot of football games left to play. Running backs, A. Jordan Mason rushed 20 times for 100 yards and a touchdown and was arguably an offensive MVP today. Wide receivers, B-. Deebo Samuel Sr. had 8 catches for 110 yards. He had a good game, but Brandon Ayuk was non-existent in this game, with only 4 catches for 43 yards and an illegal formation penalty. His contract holdout during the preseason has resulted in him being in poor form during the start of the season. He needs to be better, or else he's a $30 million a year mistake. Juwan Jennings had 37 receiving yards, not ideal either, but in my opinion, wasn't as targeted as much. And if he was, I think he would have been better than Brandon Ayuk. Tight ends, A. Kittle had 7 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. He's always been in good form, and he is one of the best at breaking tackles. The only tight end I have seen better at breaking tackles than Kittle, in my opinion, has been Gronkowski in his prime. Offensive line, C-. They were great in the run game and providing blocks for Jordan Mason, as always, but they were awful in pass protection. They let Purdy get sacked 6 times, once going nearly unblocked at Purdy. Trent Williams also didn't have a good game, as many of the sacks came from the left side. Defensive line, C+. Nick Bosa had 2 sacks in this game. Individually, Bosa had a solid game. However, the defensive line collectively gave up 146 yards in the run game. They struggled to keep Ty Chandler at bay and keep Sam Darnold in the pocket, who rushed 5 times in this game. Linebackers, A+. The linebackers, especially Fred Warner, were the reason the 49ers even had somewhat of a chance in this game in the fourth quarter. Fred Warner got an interception and forced another fumble in this game. He is a front runner right now to win Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive backs, F. They gave up a passer rating of 109 to Sam freaking Darnold. The guy we let walk out the door because he was so indecisive in the pocket during the times he played as a backup QB for the 49ers. And look, from a neutral perspective, there were some moments that were just good plays, which makes you see why he was once selected with the 3rd overall pick in the draft. But given Justin Jefferson left the game early due to injury, and Jordan Addison didn't play also due to injury, in this case, they were abysmal. George Odom and Isaac Yiadom were liabilities in this game and should have been benched. It would have been better to have our younger players like Lenore and Ward. Lenore and Ward are our best cornerback duo. they should be playing every game for most of the games. Special teams, D. They had a blocked punt and Jacob Cowing blundered a punt catch, which the 49ers fortunately recovered. If it wasn't for the successful damage control in those moments by the 49ers, this game could have gotten ugly. While Moody has improved, does this mean special teams will be a problem again in the form of other players, or is this just one bad game? We'll see. Coaches, D. Defensively, the 49ers coaching gave up 23 points. Not atrocious, but also not good if you lose. They also allowed the Vikings to convert on 7 third-down scenarios. The defense on third downs has gotten worse this year, at least if you only look at these first 2 games. They will need to improve on third down scenarios and getting the opposing offense off the field. Look to see what Nick Sorensen will do to improve that. What I will say is on Sorensen in this game is not trusting Charvarius Ward in this game. Let Ward follow and guard the opposing team's best receiver every game. There's a reason teams are trying to avoid him on the field. As for Kyle Shanahan, he got outcoached in this game by Brian Flores and Kevin O'Connell. Today, his offense showed very little creativity, which is usually not like this team. Protection schemes for Purdy were bad today, and is something he needs to work on with his offensive line. Now, you will hear many fans and hardcore critics say that it's over, and once again are calling Shanahan the common denominator who should be fired. I know many of, for example, on YouTube, Grant Cohn, many of his followers believe in firing Shanahan, and Cohn has been very harsh in his criticism, even calling for the same thing in a couple of his videos. You will hear people like Nick Wright, whose brains are still malfunctioning at the fact that a Mr. Irrelevant can be a successful quarterback rather than their mentalities of only first round, 20th overall or earlier draft picks can succeed. They will look at Purdy's mistakes and say, he can't do it. He's not the guy. Should have kept Lance and developed him. My message to 49ers fans is to relax. Let's pump the brakes on this scenario. This is only week 2, and we've been in much worse cases. We lost to this team last year and still were the number 1 team in the playoffs. We lost 3 straight games last year and still bounced back. I am not screaming to the heavens for Shanahan to be sacked. Nor am I sounding a code red alarm yet. This was a brutal loss, no doubt about it, but there is still much more football ahead. Andres from AA Sports, leave your thoughts in the on the game in the comments. Who was your MVP for the 49ers in this game? Who do you think was the worst player in this game? Put it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and feel free to like and subscribe to support this sports passion project. Thanks, guys.